Glenn Parker, High Vibration Foundation. I wanted to talk about today a little bit of detoxing, but the primary thing is coffee flushes, coffee enemas, whatever you want to call them. Coffee flushes is probably more of a politically correct type of thing. And why do I want to talk about that? Well, I've talked to a lot of people that are in great difficulty, that don't feel well, and I just wanted to share firsthand experience of what I've done in my journey to get better that might be helpful for other people. Because I have people say, what's this coffee flush thing, and what does it do, and how does it work? So let's preface this before we get started. This is not medical advice. This is not a consultation of any sort. Do you consult your physician before doing anything and everything that I'm going to say? And it's not meant to cure any diseases. It's not meant to do anything in the way of health. Now, with that said, let me tell you what I've done. Quick background. Was terminally ill, required oxygen to fly in airplanes, had cancer, had a weird blood disorder which caused oxygen desaturation to the degree where I couldn't get on a plane and fly. Couldn't do chemo because I had done a VQ scan, which is an imaging type of scan, which they did of my lungs, and it's a radioactive dye, but it's like a passive radiation. It's not like a chemo type of radiation, and it almost killed me, and it's not supposed to harm you at all, and it's not supposed to have any kind of reactions to it. But I did, and I had to be in the hospital for a while for that. So it was determined that besides me not wanting to do chemo, that it wouldn't even be possible. So it just had to follow its course and go home and die. So over a vast amount of years, and starting in 2008, I found a naturopath. I started going toward the nutritional route and pH and taking a lot of different things and feeling a lot better. And I always got to a place where I'm feeling better, but I'm not better yet. And he's always like, have you done the detoxing, the coffee flush? And I'm like, wah, no. And I don't want to because nobody wants to do that, and that's like an area that, it's only supposed to be out, nothing going in, and there's a lot of pre-ideals around that particular area, let's just say. So, with that said, a little time went by, and eventually I'm like, well, I'm feeling better, but I'm not feeling better enough, and if you're saying that if I do this, that I'll even feel better, I'll give it a try. Now, there's several different ways you can do this. There's a proper way to do a full coffee flush, and it encompasses berries and heavy whipping cream, and the night before and fasting, and having some ginger root tea, because you're going to be releasing a lot of toxins, and doing a full at least 1 to 2 enemas the next day, the next morning, before you do anything else. So the first thing when you wake up. And there's a whole bunch of little things in between. Now, I've done a few of those, and they work really well. But on the quick down and dirty, as far as just doing a regular coffee flush, making coffee and having it a certain ratio, and having I think it's a quart, it's 32 ounces. And you can get disposable enema bags, and you can use those, or you can buy a regular enema bag and just disinfect it with hydrogen peroxide and water mix, and then rinse it out with water. All these types of things. And I will note too, for a while, because the cancer has such an overgrowth in the stomach that I couldn't have a proper bowel movement. I actually had to do a cold water flush just with fresh water, like purified water, and do an enema to be able to flush things out so that I could have a bowel movement, or else I was starting to get bound up and having auto intoxication, and then the game is over after a while, because if your if you don't get the bad stuff out, it intoxicates the body and causes all kinds of very, very bad things to happen. So I started to do just regular coffee flushes, and the very first one I did, I felt wonderful. And the biomechanics of this is when you're holding a volume of coffee, it goes through the portal vein. The coffee itself goes through the portal vein and stimulates the liver to make more glutathione. And I've heard and read that it is between 300 and 1,000%. So it's, I think, an average of 500 to 600% more glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. It is everything. It recycles all your other antioxidants. So if you're having a high nutritional type of diet, if you're juicing per se, and getting a really good pH, glutathione redoes everything. It recycles all of your antioxidants. It is for cellular repair. It is for ATP support, which is your cellular energy centers, which is supported by D-ribose and L-carnitine and CoQ10 and a very good oil. And this is called metabolic cardiology. There is a very good book from a physician that I use to get off of my cardiac medications. So when I did my first coffee flush, I felt so much better. And it didn't last a very long time, and some say, oh, it was the coffee, because the intestines are a bidirectional semi-permeable membrane, so they can pass stuff back and forth. So maybe a little coffee leaked into the body. I'll grant you that, no worries on that. But as much better as I felt, I had never drank any coffee and felt like that much better, all right? So there was something going on, there was something to it. It didn't last long because I'm sure the glutathione got burned up really quickly because there was a number of things that needed to be done in the body. And they use, on a side note, for not as a cure, but as a stabilization mechanism for many, many terminally ill diseases, Parkinson's, one of them, high doses of glutathione, just so you know. And you can do that, jump on Google and research that stuff. It's out there, check it out. So glutathione is your friend. It is a binding site to ATP support. It is the master antioxidant. Glutathione does all kinds of crazy things, enzymatic activity, all these things that require. So when you kick up glutathione hundreds of percent by doing a coffee flush, the body's working more efficiently. And you say, Glenn, that can't be really good for you. You're artificially stimulating your liver. You're doing this and that. Well, if you're on the terminal side, then the flip side of that is it doesn't really matter. So, because even if you were hurting the body, it's checks and balances. It's hedging. You know, you're releasing glutathione to be able to break down some of these things in the body and maybe break down the cancer, because cancer doesn't like glutathione, vitamin C, and MSM as a whole. It doesn't like it at all. It opens up the docking ports, allows vitamin C to get inside, and glutathione is like the last catalyst for auto-deflating the cancer cells. So there's all this stuff. And just so you know, I have done thousands of coffee flushes, and I've held them for anywhere between a couple minutes up to 15 minutes. I've held them for longer periods of time. I noticed right around the 10-minute marker, 8 to 12-minute marker, there's a diminishing return as far as time. So 8 minutes is probably a golden number, 10, 12 minutes, just depends on you. And I've done this day after day, and when I was at a place where I had to get rid of the cancer, and it was the only way to kick up glutathione levels. There's other products you can buy that have high glutathione levels, but it's not your own glutathione, and they do have a price tag among them. So if you're poor, and it also is cleaning out the intestine. So as you're deleting things out of the body, and even if you don't have anything wrong with you, and you do a coffee flush and you're accelerating glutathione, and it's depleting and destroying things that don't belong in the body. And there's also this weird mechanism that goes through when you open up the portal vein and you dilate it, it makes the liver and the gallbladder dump out a bunch of toxins from the liver. So that's out in the upper intestine. So you need to drink a lot of water. If you can have activated charcoal and bentonite, things like that, to be able to gobble that stuff up and pass through inert so that they don't get back into the body, is very important. Because sometimes people do a coffee flush and they get what's called a Herxheimer. They get all the stuff dumped out of the liver back into the body, and it doesn't get absorbed. They don't drink enough water. They don't do activated charcoal or bentonite or any of these combinations that are already pre-done, like herbdoc.com, herbdoc.com has. And you can buy them. That flax seeds in them too, so it helps with doing peristalsis and getting it through the intestines and getting it out, so that it's no longer in the body, which is the whole point of the process, is also very important. So sometimes people do coffee flushes and they feel worse because they have so much toxicity, it gets dumped out, and they haven't done the full one. They just do one without doing the berries and heavy whipping cream and waiting overnight and all these types of things. And you can look all this stuff up. I would also like to note that in the nursing journals way back in the day, 40s, 50s, and right in the 50s, they started to disappear. Coffee flushes were recommended to nurses to administer to their patients, especially when they didn't know what the hell was going on, if they weren't feeling well, as a way to help the body. It wasn't documented how it helped the body, but that it did, and it is documented in the old nursing journals and in these medical things that were out at the time. Check it out. So it's not just New Age voodoo. It is something that was medically documented that was abandoned at some point in time. So I have done day after day after day consecutively for about 3 years, a coffee flush every day, maybe missing 10 in a year, maybe, probably more accurately a week, and not consecutively, just a day here, a day there, due to whatever circumstances. And I start feeling better and better and better, and noticing some of the things being broken down the body, and noticing, large things of cancer coming out of the colon. So the body was becoming hostile. I was also juicing at the same time, also taking a lot of nutritional supplements, vitamin C, MSM, things like that. So, those were also large contributors as well. So, I wanted to share that with you. Say, how does it have impact on the body? People say that I look 10 years younger a lot of times. They say that I look good. I feel really good. Today, I am doing this video because today I started catching a cold last night. I've been in a couple of the casinos here in Vegas, and they're very smoke-filled environments, and brindlefly doesn't do good on those types of things. That hurts brindlefly, right? I wasn't feeling well today, and so I woke up, and the first thing I did is I prepared some coffee. I did a coffee flush, and now I'm not lisping. I don't feel like depleted. I have a lot of energy. Hormone levels really kick up, so sexual arousal is really high. I've noticed personally after coffee flushes. And I just wanted to share that it is a viable option. It does work really well. I've known personally a lot of people that have used it, not on the scale that I've used it. So you're saying, is this something that could be harmful to the body? I've had a blood panel done about a month and a half ago. Everything was perfect. So liver enzymatic activity and heart enzyme, blah, 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 blah. Full 6 vials worth of stuff sucked out and run through the ringer, and everything was fine. Cholesterol, all that stuff. That has nothing to do with the coffee flushes. That's just, general intake of food. But all was well. So if I've done thousands of these things and, over a 3-year span, 365 days a year, I at least did just about 1,000 in that small block of time. Okay then. Enough said. Again, that's not medical advice. Consult your physician. It's not meant to cure or to do anything as far as being a cure for the body. With that said, that's my personal experience. I feel better. I had an x-ray at the same time I did my blood test, and nothing abnormal was at morphology. All organ morphology was perfect. And there you go. So when you do coffee flush, it also evacuates the bowel. So it also is a bowel cleanse as well. Before I do it, I do, just for cleanliness, I do cold water, like a whole quart with the whole disposable Enema bags. I think I have one of these bad boys around here somewhere. Matter of fact, I know I do. You can get these things, you can get them on eBay. They're only a few bucks a piece. And you can get like 10, 20, 25, 50, 100 at a time. You're not going to need that many, I should imagine, but you can get them, right? Sterile, all ready to go, just like they would use in the hospitals. And they're convenient because you can toss them out when you're done, especially if you're not doing a number of them. And you can have them on the road in case you need to do a cold water flush. If you just want to evacuate your bowels, if you're doing a lot of detoxing and you have a lot of things dying off and getting into the stomach and being reabsorbed in the body, sometimes doing a cold water flush can flush all that out. It's like, doing a Kalina or a colonic, but on a smaller scale for what you can do for the time that you have allotted. It works really well. So that's my personal experience. It's all the shenanigans that I've had to go through, partial of the shenanigans that I've had to go through. And this does take some time, let me tell you. So on a daily basis, I spent several hours each day. I've spent probably over a year of my life, waking hours aggregated together, to do this process, and it was absolutely necessary in my case. And like today, I feel better, and the cold is subsiding, and I feel pretty good. And then I go back on my normal regimen of vitamin C and these other things and juicing and all that, and all is well in the world. Yay! So again, thank you very much for joining me. I covered a lot of stuff. If you have any questions, reach out to me. You can find all this stuff online. If you have somebody that does colonics and klimas, they can also do a coffee flush for you so that there's no muss, no fuss. Because this is a pain in the ass to do, and it does take some time. And you need to sterilize, or you should sterilize the tub after you're done with a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water, and blah, 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 blah. But if you do it with a facility that does Kalina and colonics, they can pre-prepare it for you, they can have it ready, and after your colonic, they can do this for you, and then do a cold water flush and clean it out. And then all is well in the world, you clean up and you leave, and all is well and you're done. Obviously, that's a little bit more money than doing it yourself. It's quite a bit more money than doing it yourself, but it is a viable option. And it's one that I've never done, but it is one that a lot of places do offer. It just depends on their equipment and where they are. You know, most people that do colonics quite well aware of this process. So thank you very much for joining me. That feels like everything that I wanted to share, everything came through. And thank you very much. Glenn Parker, High Vibration Foundation. I just wanted to make you aware of what I've done. Again, that isn't medical advice. It isn't meant to cure anything. But that was just based on my personal experience. I've done tons of those bad boys, so I figured that that would be useful for someone. And if you're not feeling well and you've never tried this, and I'm still here, and I've done it a couple thousand times, at least hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I went back and aggregated in my mind how many times I've done it, and it's a few thousand times aggregately over since 2008. So if I'm still here, that should attest to something. If all my blood tests are good and things that were in there are not in there anymore because of these types of things, that should also be a testament to glutathione acceleration. And you can read tons of stuff online about this and coffee flush and what glutathione does for the body and all this good stuff. And check out the activated charcoal and bentonite, because if you are going to do this process, or even if you're not doing this process, sometimes that can be a pivotal point for things that are dying off in the body, just to clean them out and to basically do a colon detox. So again, thank you for joining me. Again, we're doing the Bashar Space-Time Antenna documentary. There's information on that below. That's coming along. Coaching, life, business, and spiritual. Always happy to have a conversation to that end. I think that's everything. Again, thank you very much for joining me. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask, comment, and share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Love and light, and have a fantastic day.